Welcome to Wednesday, segment 1 of the Ken Matthews Report. It is April 5th, 2023. People are recovering, analyzing, digesting what happened yesterday. Now, I would imagine most of you, if you're like me, most of us watched President Trump's response last night, and many of us were following things live. I suggested earlier in the day, follow it on Right Side Broadcasting. I think they do a tremendous job of just showing you video and not getting in the way of it. And that's one of our topics today. We have a lot to talk about today. I learned some things yesterday, and I also want to thank subscribers, because we're getting more subscribers, and it means the world to me. And people are spreading the word. But more importantly, you're commenting on my content and the stories, and you're analyzing them, and you're talking among yourselves. I think it's great when people send me ideas, comments, thoughts, links, corrections. Ken, I think you're right about this. I don't know about that. I disagree with you on this. That is great. But keep talking to each other, because there's very few forums left. I can tell you this right now. And it's going to get a lot worse by, say, June, July of this year. There's going to be very few platforms where you and I can openly discuss a stolen election, a cover-up at a school shooting, a January 6th issue, 34 trumped-up charges that have went past the statute of limitations. You do know that, right? You do know that Trump's charges have all past the statute of limitations. This is the planet we're living on. And they were also stacked charges. So there was one charge, and then there were little tentacles that came out. So we're charging you for this, and while you did this, you also initialed this piece of paper, which was part of it, so that's another charge, and you signed your name here, that's another charge. And then you talked to your lawyer, that's another charge. It's just, okay? So I'm telling you right now, what is it? April, May. Yeah, June, July, the censorship is going to be like a boa constrictor. And there may be people that want a boa constrictor to choke me out. I hope not. But anyway, so keep this communication going. Communicate with each other. And I know many of you have been nice enough to spread the word about KenMatthewsMedia.com. And thank you for that, because that's how I earn my living now. And you are making that possible. But I want you to go one step further. Communicate with the people, the fellow subscribers, because we're building a community of truth seekers and patriots. We are building that community. And that's what's so exciting about this. Okay? So don't hesitate to check out or build relationships from the Subscribe Star comments and commentary, or maybe there's someone of like mind on Rumble that you've met after, we put it on Rumble sometimes after we do it on Subscribe Star. So I'm just encouraging you to do that. The reason I'm encouraging you to do that is what you're going to find, there's going to be a part of the population, part of the community is going to get more focused and aggressive. When I mean aggressive, I don't mean violent. I just mean more engaged and enthusiastic about pursuing the truth. Because what you're going to see over the next 3 months, it'll make yesterday look like a boring day. And I'm talking about the media thing. That's what I'm talking about. I don't have any secret planetary or, information from the Oval Office. I don't have any of that. What I do know for a fact, because I follow it every day, is they're going to try to eliminate and illegalize speech 1 year out from 2024, because they cannot have the truth getting out about pretty much anything anymore. And something I learned yesterday regarding Trump, and then we'll move into some sound bites and some other things that occurred, and some things that are happening during this distraction. And keep in mind, it's a distraction to distract you from another distraction and another distraction and one more distraction. So keep that in mind. There's stuff going on with the oil industry. There's stuff going on in the DOJ. There's stuff going on with the green energy scam. And obviously that horrible shooting that took place in Nashville at the Covenant School. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But somebody told me this yesterday, and they said they believe, and I agree with them, they believe that Donald Trump demanded no cameras in the courtroom for this because he knows that now the left is going to pendulum back and demand cameras in the courtroom for the trial. See, this is going to go to trial. Okay? And he wants them in the courtroom for the trial. And I never thought about that. I never really thought about that, but that makes total sense. Because where is the one place that things get on the public record, they're made public, and they're seen in a public trial? So I thought it was very interesting. And again, this was from an astute observer that has more legal experience than I do. This observer said he requested, and they were shut down, the amount of cameras and live feed, etc., for the hearing, because I don't think he and his lawyers want to reveal anything in the preliminary hearing, which is coming up, and of course the arraignment, which we saw parts of, right? He doesn't want to reveal anything. I think he wants to roll into court in December. I think that's when they've scheduled it, with a trial, with a jury, with full cameras, and then just enter stuff into evidence that will blow your mind. That's the hopeful person in me, but it makes total sense. Now, you might question, some leftists are saying, well, why should we even do that? Why should we even cover it? Well, you spent several months on Gwyneth Paltrow and the ski accident trial, and I watched it. I watched it because I saw what weasels make it into court. And that should give you an idea of the level of entertainment and information you're going to get from the left and the news media and the GOP trying to destroy Donald Trump in court. I think it's going to be incredible history, but I think that's why that happened. Now I want to go back to Savannah. Savannah Hernandez is an independent journalist, and she, like several others, were covering the events. Now I want you to pay close attention, because this is this is the new normal for the left. They've always done this, but this is allowed. Understand, you and I are not allowed to behave the way these people in the mask and that are harassing Savannah. We're not allowed to behave that way. You and I cannot come up to someone and blow a whistle in their ear. First of all, it's an assault, but it also is very damaging. You and I cannot hit her in the face with a sign. You and I cannot get in her space. But understand, under the current administration, this behavior has been affirmed and approved by leftists all the way back to Obama. Keep in mind, this administration is Obama. So this young woman was on the Trump side. Okay? The police divided the area yesterday in New York between Trump supporters and Biden supporters, or Trump haters, whatever you want to call it. And I thought they did a good job keeping things together, but leftist and Antifa and BLM and Pantifa and Blantifa and all the Fafas, this is their specialty. Their specialty is being in a pack like wolves. 1, 2, 3, and there's several other girls here attacking her. All right? She's by herself. This is not the first time Savannah has dealt with this. In fact, it's not the first time that any independent journalist trying to investigate something like truth in New York has got to deal with this. The reason I'm pointing this out to you is before you say, hey, they can't do that, that's against the law. It's no longer against the law. This is what went out the window yesterday. So please understand, the left operates under a different law. So if you were to do this, and not that you would, I wouldn't dream of doing this. I would not dream. If someone had a giant sign that said, F you Ken Matthews, and they were chanting it on a public road, I couldn't imagine going up in their face and threatening them or blowing a whistle. First of all, it's free speech. Second of all, you'll notice in almost all these cases, the conservatives are in the position of peace or constitutional compliance, or they're doing something like singing or reporting or praying. So I want you to get used to this, because if you thought the summer, what was it, 2021 or 2020? I forget. Which is the big staged summer where the Democrats went around and said, we're going to be peacefully protesting, and then they burned everything to the ground. Was that 20 or 21? I can't remember. I think it was 20, yeah. Because, yeah, that's right, because President Trump was still in his first term. So please, if you haven't seen this before, let it sink in. None of these people were charged or restrained. Okay? I want you to think about this the next time you go to a school board meeting. Again, I am not in any way encouraging violence or being aggressive or getting in someone's face. What I'm telling you is the reality of the situation is this. You and I, as conservatives or as law-abiding citizens, patriots, truth seekers, we operate under different laws. We have to abide by the law. The left does not. If you need confirmation, you can ask Hillary or ask Hunter or ask the Podestas or ask Obama or Biden or any number of other people that you know should be indicted at the very least, but they're untouchable, and their supporters get to behave like thugs. And sadly, it is approved by the left. I'm just, heads up, this is what you're going to be dealing with forever. And as of yesterday, the left sent a signal. The Biden regime sent a signal. New York City sent this signal a long time ago, and the signal was basically this. If you agree with us, you can pretty much do whatever you want. If you disagree with our politicians, you're going to get arrested for smoking in the wrong place. Do you see that? Do you see that actually caught her hat? This cowbell. Now I want you to take a moment again. Let's pretend this is some young woman from The View. I don't think there's any young women left on The View. But let's pretend this is some young liberal journalist from MSNBC. And let's pretend that all these people are conservative, white Trump supporters doing exactly the same thing that these people are doing to her How would that play? So get ready. I know I know it's against the law. I know they can't do that. I get it. But I'm telling you, by this summer, they will have locked most of our speech down. They will be penalizing you for it. By this summer, you cock off in a bar and say something about Biden, people will be calling the police on you and lying to shut you down. This is the strategy. Get ready. It's only the tip of the spear of the strategy. And this is why the people at different news organizations, they don't have the courage of this young woman. They don't even want to play with this. They just want to get their 7-8 figure salaries, which this woman makes. She doesn't make anything near that. But they want to get the people that have, like, for example, there are journalists that have security. And there are networks that pay for security. I mean, networks used to pay for security, and they still do when you go into a hotspot like the Middle East. But they don't want anything to do with this. They don't want to be out fighting for the truth, taking on the Biden administration, taking on the Clintons, the Obamas, taking on big voting machine companies or big pharma. So it's usually one or two independent journalists out in a crowd of thugs and snakes and pariahs being ignored by the media. This right here should be a national story. The national story is, guess what, conservative press? By the summer, you're going to be afraid to report anything. Because all this is condoned by the left. All this is condoned. Everything that's going on here has been called peaceful demonstration by the left. So now let's take it in, uninterrupted. I just want to get you set, get you in the mood for what's happening on the left. Here's looks like a woke white girl because she's in the crowd. Here's a woke white guy. So again, gentlemen, if your wife or daughter was walking down the street in New York with a Trump hat on, and this guy rolled up, and then they tried to hit your wife in the face with a cowbell, how would that play? Don't even answer it if you're a leftist, because you'd probably be the one doing it. But how would it play? So get ready for that. And it's not just going to be in New York. It's going to be everywhere. They are going to turn up the heat. Every grassroots thug organization. I'm not talking about the debate club. I'm talking about all the people that help burn things and break things and threaten people and cut internet cable and blow up power stations. You are going to see something that we've never experienced before. And it's designed to keep us home, shut us up, and set the stage to take out Donald Trump.
I'm not going to be bullied by these people anymore. I came here to report on my job. So, that's exactly what it is. And it's just absolutely hilarious to me. This is the modern day.
So, there's an example of a woman, a young woman in America, obviously a conservative, who has more balls than most men in government. So hats off to Savannah again. Now remember that. Remember. Okay? Now that is what Democrats call a peaceful demonstration. And that is what Democrats threaten us with. Sorry, this is a mess. I have a fan on in here because it's kind of hot today. This is what the Democrats threaten us with. This is what we get all the time, whether we're in the news media as a conservative or we're conservative or we're a Tea Party group or something like that. Don't you show up. Don't you show up to protest. Don't you show up to report. And now it's condoned by, see, that's New York City. That's why people laugh at New York City now. Once a great city, now a feral city under the control of rabid, leftist, lying thugs. That should have been shut down like that. But Savannah is not on the side that New York City approves. Now, keep in mind, you have a president right now, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is on the side of the people saying, F you, go home. You need to remember that. Because Joe Biden, he's over the FBI, he's over the DOJ, he's over DHS. He appointed all those idiots. Well, I don't think he appointed Christopher Wray, did he? I don't think he did. Merrick Garland, yeah. And Mayorkas, yes. So we have to get in that mindset. Not in the mindset of being violent, but we need to accept the reality. There's not going to be free speech for you and me. Fourth Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, Ninth Amendment rights, 10th Amendment. No. Here's how it's going to be. Forever, as of yesterday, if the mayor doesn't like you, you're going to be singled out. If the DA has a problem with you, he'll find something. So get ready. Now, the good side of this, if you can even say it's a good side, I don't know if it is. This was more analysis I was engaged in yesterday with people. It sets a precedent, meaning if and when President Donald Trump gets elected, if they don't assassinate him first, if Donald Trump were to get reelected in 2024, the precedent has been set. So he can now pick up the phone and say, I want you to go back and open every single felony investigation from Benghazi to Fast and Furious to Email Gate to Russia Gate to all the gates, open all the gates up. You see, this is what they started. This is what I don't think the Democrats thought there's a chance we may take power again, meaning the conservatives. I don't think the Democrats thought as of 2016 we would ever get back in power. I really thought, or I believe that they believe that it was going to be a baton pass from President Barack Hussein Obama to Hillary, and then Hillary would run roughshod for 8 years, and then it would be a fight to survive politically, because once they stole things and locked things up, and that's the other thing that we were talking about yesterday. With a show of hands, how many people think 2024 is even going to happen as reality? Do you really think after 2020, stolen and ignored, not investigated fully, 2022, stolen and ignored, not investigated fully, Russiagate, investigated, Trump cleared, the media still pretends it's never been cleared. They pretend they're still using the talking points. What do you think's going to change in 2024? Okay, now, let's go to some other things here. All right. Oh, I have to show you this. I put this excuse me, I put some of these photos up on my Twitter page. Let me just clear this off here. All right. I put some of these photos. I have a whole, album of these photos. There's about 15 of them out there. This is, and I thought I would talk about it. The reason I'm talking about it is I'm so tired of hearing grown liberal men puppet the talking points of the left. So you don't think Donald Trump should be arrested because he paid hush money to a porn star? I mean, they say exactly what they're told. Hush money to a porn star. And the answer would be no. No, I don't think he should be. No. No, I don't think he should be. I don't think it was a felony. I don't think he committed a felony in the process. Even if he did misrepresent the expenses, at worst, it would be either an IRS issue or some type of business-related misdemeanor, even if it happened. This is worst-case scenario. So, no, I don't. So now, really, if you have this information about the Bidens, now is the time to really engage some of the people on the left, because I don't believe they believe any of this stuff about Biden. Here he is just about to kiss this little kid on the lips. I have no idea. Again, I ask you the same thing I just did with the Savannah Hernandez journalist video. What would happen if you and I were behaving like the men and women in the crowd that were assaulting her? Okay? What would happen if you were at a school event? Again, this is just it's a simple question. I had somebody was angry at me because I was even talking about this, and I thought, how did you even, wow, I'm great that you subscribe, but how can you even not take this seriously? You know what I mean? Because I do talk about a lot of Biden stuff because nobody else talks about it. They don't have the guts to. I mean, bring this up to your neighbor or your relative that voted for Biden and see what happens. So again, this is why I always ask questions, and I always try to set a scenario because, hold on, let me change the fan. Thanks for your patience. Because it's, you can't just run around and say, so-and-so's a pedo. You can't just do that, right? But what you can do is question the behavior of people. And I question the behavior of the leader of the free world. And it's not the first time we've questioned their behavior. Okay? So let's pretend this is let's pretend this is not Joe Biden, brother of James and Frank, okay, and daddy of Hunter. Let's pretend you're at a school event and this is the school principal, and that's your son. Dad, how would it play out? Fathers, how would it play out? Are you getting it now? Because people on the left don't get it. They don't get it. You bring this up and they're just angry and terrified and they call you a liar. I'm telling you, let's say this is a middle school event or an elementary school event and everybody's applauding and this is the principal and he's gone down the row and thanking all the parents. And here's the principal of your kid's 4th grade and he's going to plant one on your son's lips. How's that going to play? I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask leftists. They seem to be very much okay with it, just like this. I mean, this is one of the notorious ones. Was there another one? Oh, yeah, this was one. Now, this isn't very over the top, but I like this one because she's like, oh, my gosh. This is exactly what, mommy and daddy said, don't let anybody touch you like this. And if anybody ever touches you like this, honey, you come home and you tell mommy and daddy. If you're ever at school or you're at your little part-time job with your cheerleading friends or whatever, and the supervisor comes up and starts to feel you up, you need to tell us. But if we've learned anything, there is truly a different standard between the Democrats and the Republicans. And I'm telling you right now, you better get used to bringing out the big, I don't want to say that. I was going to say the big guns, but someone will take it wrong. You better get comfortable with talking about uncomfortable issues regarding the Democrats, because they have no problem lying about you and me. The Democrats have no problem framing you and me. The Democrats and corporate media and the FBI have no problem planting child porn on the spouse of a journalist. So we need to get with the program and start talking. And if our representatives don't want to do it, then vote them out, for God's sake. They're gutless, weak men and women. Vote them out. Vote them out. If you say to a conservative congressman, why doesn't anybody go after Hunter for this? And he says, oh, don't even vote him out. Because we've had ample opportunity for the past several years to indict, prosecute, investigate, or let me say you investigate, then you indict, then you prosecute. Sorry. I had it in the direction of the way the Democrats do it. The Democrats say, you see that guy right there? Yeah, the guy doing the podcast. We need to find some crime on him. So start burrowing up his tail and find something. That's how the Democrats roll. We see the crime. We see the crime. We say, oh my God, do you see this crime that's happening? Yeah, it involves Senator so-and-so and such and such. Well, I don't want to, I don't want to get on. I don't want to do that. I don't want to get involved with that. I mean, there's an election coming up. I got news for you. I don't think there's an election coming up, but that's just me. What election? What election's coming up that you could trust? I don't know if you saw this yesterday. Did you see this? This broke yesterday. Yeah, this broke yesterday. By the way, did you hear it? Ninth Circuit Court orders Stormy Daniels to pay Donald Trump $121,000 plus in attorney fees. Now, see, it's funny because over at Revolver, they call her the porn harlot. Porn harlot Stormy Daniels should probably book a hell of a lot more gigs. We already know she owes President Trump $500,000 in legal fees thanks to losing all her frivolous lawsuits against Donald Trump. However, today, Karma decided to have some additional fun with old Stormy. Sorry. While President Trump was being arrested in Manhattan, the Ninth Circuit Court ordered Stormy to pay Trump an additional $121,000 in legal fees. So now Stormy Daniels owes over $600,000 to Donald Trump in legal fees. I guess NPR missed that. Eric Trump didn't miss it. That guy doesn't miss a thing. Probably because he's so tall. I've met him. He's extremely tall, like crazy tall. Anyway, the ruling came down as Trump was in Lower Manhattan, New York, yesterday afternoon, getting arrested. He was indicted late last week by a Manhattan grand jury in a case involving his purported role in hush money payments to Daniels ahead of the 2016 election, allegedly to keep Daniels quiet about an alleged affair that they had allegedly between two consenting adults, allegedly a private citizen and a grown woman 17 years ago. This is, think about it for a minute. This is how the Democrats are going to try to sideline the most popular president in history, his campaign. This is what they're going to say, well, we heard that 17 years ago, you and this blonde chick, yeah. And then you paid her because you didn't want it coming up in the election, allegedly. And yet the Ninth Circuit said, hey, Stormy, you're full of crap, and you're going to pay all the legal fees. Did you not hear that anywhere in the news? That part where the feds said, hey, Stormy, you're full of crap. The states said, hey, Stormy, you're full of crap. Pay the man and stop maligning him. But then the district attorney in Manhattan said, Stormy, you are so credible. Thank you for being a great American. Thank you for telling us in depth about the sex you had 17 years ago and then that you were paid off. Were you threatened? No. Was there violence? No. Was there extortion? No. Let's speak. Allegedly, let's say it actually happened. I'll be honest, I don't think it did. But there is a part of me that says, okay, let's accept the fact that if it did, what would it mean? All right? So if it did, two private citizens have a consensual sexual relationship, extramarital, it ends, and then 10 years later, the guy says, I want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement because, I just don't want this coming out. If it even happened. Okay, so if it did, where's the crime? There isn't one. The crime is the big orange man is going to get elected again, and in the eyes of the left, that's a crime. All right, let's shift gears. Again, I think this is a smart young woman, and she'll bring us up to speed. She's talking to big oil people. This is something else that took place this week. All these things going on. There's all kinds of gun activity. Believe it or not, it may end up falling in favor of Second Amendment supporters. In California, there's all kinds of positive gun activity. And I believe in Florida, you don't need a permit now. I've got to double check that. But I thought yesterday, during all the craziness, that DeSantis signed off on permitless carry in Florida. So I double check that, but I think that was the case. So a couple positives in the gun realm, okay, in our Second Amendment rights. All right, let's go over here. And Lauren Boebert, I would consider, as far as Congress goes, I would say she's one of the smarter people on the energy issues. I've heard her speak on energy issues numerous times, okay, and she knows her stuff. There's different people that have different expertise, and I think she's done her homework on energy issues. So let her explain what happened this week when some of the big oil people, and were they just big oil people or were they green people? I think there was a mix at this hearing.
It's really unfortunate to hear energy crisis stories, energy poverty stories, where a mother has to choose between feeding her family or paying the electric bill. But that's where more than 20 million Americans are right now because of Joe Biden's energy policies that he enforced on Americans January 20th, 2021, where we were energy secure, and he completely surrendered that energy security. This week, House Republicans are pushing back against the left's anti-American, anti-energy policies to pass H.R. 1 to put us back on track towards energy independence and in turn reduce inflationary pressures and lower costs for families. Dr. Paul, in your recently released paper, An Economics Case for Restrictive Supply-Side Policies, you advocate for nationalizing the United States oil and gas industry. Do you still agree with that statement?
Yes.
By the way, if you're listening, that is not Dr. Rand Paul. I know there's a lot of, and she would have called him senator or congressman. I just drew a blank now. Isn't that embarrassing? But she would have called him by his title. All right. This is a different Paul. This is a different doctor. These are a panel of climate drama queen experts. Okay? And she's questioning them. I'm saying that in case you're not watching the video.
The United States oil and gas industry. Do you still agree with that statement?
Yes, in that research paper, we highlight 10 policies that would facilitate.
So let me get this straight, Dr. Paul. So you
decarbonization.
support a communist-style takeover of our oil and gas industry? Because that's exactly what this is, nationalizing our oil and gas industry.
The majority of countries around the globe that have substantial fossil fuel reserves have public ownership of those reserves.
Yeah. Do you see what he just said? She just exposed this clown for what he is. We know that people that own all the oil are not the most pleasant countries to live in. You idiot. This is the problem. This is where we are in this country. The republic is pretty much, we're in a recovery mode now. We have to save the republic. It's not going to work on its own. It's crumbling by design. So that was his retort when she said, wait a second, you're suggesting because of the climate crisis on your research that we should nationalize energy? And what was his response? The majority of countries do it. And he'll explain his bull crap in a minute. Tell me we're not totally up to our neck in communism and worse right now.
Oil and gas industry. Because that's exactly what this is, nationalizing our oil and gas industry.
The majority of countries around the globe that have substantial fossil fuel reserves have public ownership of those reserves.
This
so that
is
they
a
can
communist-style takeover, and we've even heard from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that they never want to invest in fossil fuels and the infrastructure of it here in America again.
You notice what the leftist expert said? The majority of countries that have nationalized energy is so they can manage it. And what does that mean? What does government management mean to you? It's control. That's why the governments, communist governments, control everything. Guns, gas, gold, healthcare, education, commerce, transit, and idiots who don't know history play along. Maybe they want a free bus ride. I don't know.
Which is quite alarming. Dr. McPherson, prices for heating American homes rose by more than 27% in the past year. And in my home state of Colorado, we had a very cold winter, which means these increased costs hit even harder for the people that live in my district, in Colorado's 3rd district. Do you think that the Biden administration's proposal to place a ban on gas stoves nationwide will reduce energy prices for people in my district?
No, it's going to force them to, unfortunately, have to purchase a new stove if that were to come to pass.
And by the way, it's a staggered launch. That is true. It's not happening now. We talked about it before. It's not happening like this afternoon, but it's happening. It's staggered, like 2025, 2028, in different states, different categories. And then in the case of California, I'm not sure of the year. I think it's 35, maybe 2030. But in the case of California, there's the same configuration with this policy as there is with combustion engines. So in California, there's certain dates already carved in stone that there will be no more combustion engines sold after this date, ever, in that state. And then there's another, the configuration of this gas stove thing is similar. After a certain date, there will be no more fossil fuel appliances put in new homes after this date. So from that date on, everything's going to have to be whatever it may have to be. Whatever they pull out of their butt, whatever scam they're running. You're going to have a big windmill. You're going to have to be solar. If it is electric, we're going to control it. Of course, the majority of electric in this country is still predominantly produced by coal. Coal? Yeah, coal. And, you know, I wanted to show you that that hearing. Let me go back for just a sec. Another reason I like to show you this stuff is, you know, in the corporate media, they know what their job is, and their job is to make people like Lauren Boebert and MTG and, you know, people on the Freedom Caucus look crazy and deranged and like they're not getting anything done. And that's so untrue, because on the same day that they're arresting Donald Trump on a misdemeanor that's past the statute of limitations, on that same day, you have Republicans actually doing the work for the people in their districts, around their districts, whether it has to do with commerce or energy or whatever. And Laura gets such a bad, and you know, having met her in person, she gets such a bad rap just because she believes in open carry and the Second Amendment. And they just wait. That's what the media does. They wait until she gets ticked off, or MTG gets ticked off and says, you know, to some liberal man who then gets emotional and goes cry to Chuck Schumer, you know, I'll beat your face in. And then that becomes the... Now, personally, for me, if for a congresswoman to say to a liberal man, if you keep this up, I'll beat your face in, if it was ever said, I'd probably vote for that person again. Because I just think, unfortunately, I think that's probably that could be one of the biggest problems in America, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Not enough people have been punched in the face that need to be. So, you know, the left is out there surrounding some little journalist, some woman who's 5'5" or whatever, and hitting her in the face with a cowbell and a sign, and blowing a whistle in her ear. Do you know the damage that does to your ear? I mean, if she was, you know, think about it. She could just go off the edge on this and sue that person because she needs her ear to make a living, and they did it. I mean, seriously. And see, I believe the problem is, and I have to be very careful here because some people will get all squirmy, but it depends what generation you're from. I'm over 60. So my generation is, some people need to be punched in the face. And usually if you haven't been punched in the face or in a fight, you approach it differently. You approach things differently. See, the last thing I would ever do is behave like those scumbags in the crowd in New York and get in people's face. I'm just not a get-in-your-face guy. Now, some people are get-in-your-face guys, and they're dangerous, and some women are too. I'm not saying create a problem, start a problem. All I'm saying is anybody who's been punched knows better than to invite a punch. So I'm not going to go up to anybody and F with them. I have no reason to. I have no reason to start trouble. If you want to be at the courthouse with a big sign that says put Trump in prison forever, his supporters are dumb idiots, that's fine. I'm not going to come up into your face, because I know what happens if you get in the wrong face. I'm just trying to get your mindset up to speed for this summer. It's going to be a crazy summer. It's going to be a crazy summer. And they are going to do everything they can to intimidate you and me and journalists and Christians. They are going to put you thought 2020 was bad? It was nothing. It was nothing. Because they knew in 2020, according to the evidence, they knew that Biden was a shoo-in. In the summer of 2020, they already knew the people that were playing a role in the states and precincts that were flipped. They already knew. Now, the summer 2023, right? Now, it's not the actual election summer, because 2020 was just a few months before. But the summer of 2023 is going to be, in my opinion, a desperate attempt to scare anybody else who is awake. And we are becoming awake. And I think yesterday really drew that out. Did it not? I mean, I think people are really waking up. Okay, let's wrap with this. This is our first segment. We'll wrap it up. We have a lot more to talk about, regarding the events of the week, and I know it's only Wednesday. All right. Larry Hogan's former chief of staff is dead after FBI-involved shooting. This is from Tennessee. Now, there's been a lot of stuff going on in Tennessee recently. Have you noticed it? Call me crazy. What's been happening in Tennessee lately? All right, we got the Covenant Christian School slaughter by the 28-year-old woman who thought she was a man. She killed 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults, all in their 60s. And she has a manifesto, and Tennessee law enforcement will not release it, nor will they release all the body cam video. And the body cam video they have released, I was told by a law enforcement officer that it has been doctored because the timestamps aren't on it. I didn't know that. So if you're a cop, you'll have to weigh in on that. So that's happening in Tennessee. And then what did we have at the Tennessee Capitol? We had a bunch of anti-gun people violently storm the Capitol. Holy moly, it was like a mini insurrection. And they were also unarmed, just like the fake insurrection in January 6th. They were unarmed as well. Now let's jump over to, and this, I want you to listen carefully to this. Roy McGrath, the former Maryland GOP, Governor Larry Hogan's one-time chief of staff, died after a shooting involving the FBI Monday night in Tennessee. What's going on? The heck's going on with Tennessee and these high-profile things? McGrath's lawyer, Joseph Murtha, said the FBI confirmed to him that he had died. Murtha said McGrath never wavered on his innocence. McGrath was taken to a hospital after being hurt in the shooting in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's unclear if McGrath died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound or if he was shot by an agent. The incident happened around 6:30. McGrath was facing an 8-count federal indictment with charges including wire fraud. He is being accused of allegedly securing $230,000 severance payment equal to 1 year of salary as the head of Maryland's Environmental Service, and faces fraud and embezzlement charges for roughly $170,000 in expenses. The FBI is reviewing an agent-involved shooting which occurred Monday night. During the arrest, the subject, Roy McGrath, sustained injury and was transported to the hospital, it added. The arrest happened days after Hogan expressed his support for the FBI and U.S. Marshals to track down McGrath. McGrath became wanted after he failed to appear in court in Baltimore on March 13th. So he was a fugitive from justice. I'm trying to figure out what led to that. Of course, I wasn't there. I'm just saying I always wonder how someone that made it that high up in a political hierarchy on either side of the ideological aisle ends up in a gunfight with the FBI. Now, I happen to believe that FBI and the KGB are very similar at this point in history. I'm not talking about the brick agents and the men and women that are doing their job. I'm talking about the leadership. So every time I see politician dead, FBI involved, the first thing I say is, what other politician wanted that politician dead? Because the FBI seems to be involved every single time one politician wants to take out another politician. Have you noticed that? Whether it's a Russiagate, quid pro quo gate, whether it's we need to shut people up about Fast and Furious, we need to shut people up about Hillary Clinton's emails. The FBI is always involved and stuff is always going wrong. Haven't you noticed that? I mean, it's, I don't know if people said this before or not, but was there ever a time when people said, hey, oh, thank God the FBI's here. Good news. Oh, the feds are here. Thank God. We'll sort it out now. No, I've never heard that from a local law enforcement officer or seen it historically. I've never seen it historically. What I've seen historically, all the way back pre-9/11 is, oh, crap, the FBI's here. Well, you can kiss evidence goodbye. Again, we cannot be in this battle to constitutionally attempt to save our republic if we're not realistic. So if you think you're going to dial 911 and someone's got your back because you want to expose Senator so-and-so, you better hope that Senator so-and-so's son doesn't run the 911 communication center. And on that positive note, we'll be back with segment 2 and the Wednesday word of the day on the Ken Matthews Report. Thank you again for sharing the report. We have new photos on the photo gallery, kenmatthewsmedia.com. We have some Patriots in the photos. And again, I encourage you, send photos if you'd like. Send photos with my logo in them so I can milk the photo. But also I have an opportunity to meet wonderful people. New listeners and Patriots I've never met and Patriots that are also in this audience. So thank you for that. Ken at kenmatthewsmedia.com is my personal email for the show, and we'll be right back with segment 2.